Hey, what's up, guys? So I kind of just wanted to sit down and talk with you guys about something that I've been thinking about a lot lately. And it just has to do with a whole approach I have as far as how I do tests and reviews and share my thoughts and give recommendations. Like I feel like one of my dreams is to have this amazing, ideal, perfect radar detector and dash camera where it's like everything is perfect, right? Great range and false alert filtering and features and no bugs and no issues, no complaints, like the dream, right? And the same thing with the dash cam and a laser jam and jammer and everything else. Like, I don't think that's necessarily reality, right? Everything has pros and cons. I mean, my videos aren't perfect, like people aren't perfect. Everything has pros and cons, right? I think that's totally normal. Um, but I've been thinking a lot lately of like, am I doing my part to ensure that I stay balanced and fair with my critiques? Are my expectations too high? Like, as much as I would love, the ideal dream radar detector and countermeasures and all that kind of stuff, that's not realistic. Just like expecting, some perfect person or anything else, right? So it's kind of like, where do you draw the line as far as acceptability? I do feel like lately I've been sort of disappointed, just and kind of bummed out about like the industry and the hobby. As much as I'm like, man, I want one good radar detector, whether it's a Uniden or an Escort or a Valentine or a Redenso or a Stinger or a Cobra. Like, I don't care about the brand. I just want something that's awesome, whatever brand happens to be written on it. So I've just been thinking a lot about that. Like, am I being too harsh in this kind of stuff? Because I see people who are like super thrilled. They're like, hey, I bought a radar detector and it's awesome and I'm super happy with it. And part of me is like, I wish I was as happy about the radar detector that you have. I want to be that happy about it too. And I'm like, I've got any detector that I want to choose from, and none of them I'm perfectly satisfied with. And maybe the grass is always greener because if I had one where I was like, this is awesome, this is perfect, I'm sure all of the normal stuff of like, oh, you're biased, paid shill, all that kind of stuff would just ramp up even more so. And I remember actually doing a video talking about this a little while ago, um, talking about like man, I forget the title of the video, but it was basically like how you're incentivized as a reviewer to focus more and more on negative stuff, like the benefits of negative reviews. And the gist of it was like, if I talk about all the good stuff, here's what I like, I'm excited, this is great. It's that usually gets like, you're just focused, they're paid to say you that is this sponsored, you're a shill, or the manufacturer's clearly paying you to talk about all this good stuff, right? Versus if you're negative and you focus on that stuff, then people are like, oh my gosh, you're telling the truth, oh my gosh, wow, this is awesome, thank you. And so like progressively you get more and more incentivized to be a little bit more negative, a little bit more negative. But if that continues, and I've been doing this for like a decade now, I can tell my enthusiasm for the hobby has kind of started to go down. And I'm like, man, what the heck? I used to love this stuff more. I used to be happier about this. I mean, don't get me wrong, I still love countermeasures, but I don't have the same joy and enthusiasm to some extent. And I feel like a part of it is just progressively focusing a little bit more and more and more on the negative and kind of this slow process to now I'm like, well, none of this stuff is perfect. And is it reasonable to expect at one point the stuff to get perfect? Like if I think back to kind of when I got started with this, a lot of the best detectors at the time were like V1 Gen 1, Escort Redline, and Escort Max 2. Those were kind of the three that we were bouncing between. V1 for the arrows, Redline for the range, Max 2 or original Max for like auto lockouts built in, right? This was kind of pre Yavi 1 in those kind of days. So they all had their pros and cons. And so all the testing was like, do you focus on range or arrows or false alert filtering? But how much we've grown and all the amazing detectors that we have now from the escorts have gotten way better. The new V1 Gen 2 is way better. Uniden has entered the field. Redenso has some good stuff now too. Stinger has grown. Like even Cobra got bought out by Escort. Their stuff is getting better too. Like how far we've grown and how much better things are than they were before. I mean, I think that's worth remembering too. And that deserves to be recognized. All the manufacturers, like how hard they're working to create stuff for us. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have these amazing countermeasures to use in the first place. And I always try to think of like whenever I'm giving a review, I want to focus on the good stuff. I want to focus on the bad stuff. I'm going to share my personal thoughts. I'm going to try to share other people's perspectives. I want to share things that I've learned from the forums or from talking with manufacturers or just trying to get as much data as I can and share all of that. I want you guys to be as educated and informed as possible. That's literally the whole point of the reviews, right? Just like I want us to all learn together. That's really the point. I like the community to be educated and informed. Um, and I always think back, whenever I'm making a review and if I'm being critical about something, I'm thinking in the back of my head, there's people who worked really hard to create this. The R&D, the development, the testing, the manufacturing, the customer service, like everything that goes into making a radar detector. It's easy to just like sit back and kind of armchair quarterback and say, I want something with amazing range and perfect BSM filtering and perfect lockouts and Bluetooth and Wi-Fi and amazing build quality, and like I want to check every box, right? But to execute and to actually make that happen is way harder than just to sit on the sidelines and say I want something perfect. And I recognize that, like, it's it's much harder to execute than it is to ask for something. And it's the same thing with my videos. Like, I'm really struggling these days to get a lot of videos done. It's so time consuming, especially when I'll be really exhaustive with the testing and get good video quality and stuff. Like, I just upgraded my webcam here. This is an iPhone in continuity mode. So I'm just constantly trying to improve and get things better and better. I've been trying to get a video editor to help me out, and man, that's been a challenge. Dwight Green, too much coffee. Yep, I'm on my second or third coffee. It's my morning wake up juice. But yeah, just thinking of a lot of like, how can I get better? How can the industry get better? What can I do to encourage manufacturers? How can I support them in creating stuff, whether it's beta testing or sharing reviews or like, I don't know. I don't know. I've just been thinking about this a lot, and I've been kind of down on stuff lately, and I feel like I'm not satisfied with any choice currently. And I don't know if it used to be that way. And I wonder how much of that is the products, how much of that is just my perspective, right? My approach, my beliefs and ideas and expectations. So I'm always like checking myself to hopefully do my best to be balanced and fair and kind and considerate. I want to talk about the good stuff. I want to talk about the bad stuff. Sometimes I get upset and annoyed and frustrated. It's like, you get excited about Redenso Thea, and it's like, this is awesome, but then we're waiting years and there's still no release date. Or Unit and stuff with their lockouts, and you're like, come on, fix it. What's going on? Or Bluetooth, or like stuff with Escort. It's just like, I want so much to have something that's amazing, and it's just, I don't know. I kind of wonder, like, are my expectations too high? As I sometimes try to justify it with the sense of like, well, a lot of these manufacturers, they're smaller companies, right? These are not huge companies. This is not the Apples and Samsungs and Googles and Microsofts of the world with like some of the smartest and most intelligent and highly paid engineers, and they have like thousands of them, right? These are small companies with very limited resources and manpower and everything. So realistically, there's only so much that they can do. And even the huge companies like Apples and Samsungs, we have issues with their products, Fords and Teslas and Chevys, like all the huge, massive companies, they don't release perfect stuff either. They can definitely pour much more into R&D and testing, right? They've been around longer, sure, but like it's not. I don't think perfection is realistic in any category, and it's easy to desire that and to call somebody out for not hitting that theoretical mark, right? But in the interest of just being balanced with this, I'm thinking a lot of like, hey, am I being too negative for various reasons? Am my expectations too high? So I can see here in the chat, you guys are saying like, no, you're doing a great job. I appreciate that. Yeah. I wonder too, if you manufacturers' perspectives, am I being too harsh on them? Am I maybe unfairly like focusing and honing in on an issue that they don't feel is like a big deal? Or I know one thing that's kind of common is like, you can see, what was the comment? Frankie G. The nerds of any hobby can pick apart the smallest details and are more critical than the general folk who aren't. And yes, I agree. That's actually something really interesting. And this is something that we've known for years, is like the enthusiast, right? Whether you're on the forums or you're spending your free time watching radar detector live streams, like people who are hardcore into radar detectors and you have a passion for this, right? That mindset and approach and perspective is going to be different than 99% of people who are just like, I'm going to walk into Best Buy and pick up a radar detector because it detects 14 bands, or I Googled top 10 radar detectors and I got some affiliate link and they're like, okay, just pick up these ones or whatever. Like people who just want something. So people who are really into this, we're going to spend time learning about all the nitty gritty and the details. And, that's kind of like, I think the classic example are like the V1 Gen 2s, or, I remember when I was doing like V1 with the original V1, and now we have JB V1. It's like, that's an awesome choice. But I think people who want to dive into the weeds with like custom sweeps and custom frequencies and band segmentation and the nuances of photo radar detection and the capabilities that you can add, as amazing as they are with apps, most people are just want a box you stick on the windshield and they want to go about their day. Like even myself as an enthusiast, I used to want, like the jet fighter cockpit, with all the phones and all this kind of stuff. Now I'm like, man, I'm busy. I'm just going to the gym. I'm taking my kids to daycare. I'm going to the grocery store. Like I love this stuff and it's kind of on autopilot to some extent, but like I'm busy thinking about life, about my family, focused on other stuff. I don't necessarily want to be focused on like mentally analyzing every single K-band signal and watching the signal strengths change over time in the direction to figure out, is this a legitimate signal or a false? It's like, I much more now appreciate just stick it on the windshield and it works, right? Alert me when it's a legitimate signal. Stay quiet when it's not. Make things simple and easy. I'm willing to do more initial setup and stuff, I know, than most people, but like I'm kind of starting to gravitate more towards like the general consumer perspective, which is interesting. Despite my passion and enthusiasm, like I want just easy convenience, effectiveness, with minimal hassle and headache. I can work around issues with like installing drivers to get stuff connectivity for update software. And I'm like, okay, Android, iPhone, I'm willing to do more stuff than most people, of course, but yeah, I don't know. Dashcams, it's, I think, kind of a similar thing. Like I'm testing the A139 Pro and new Blackview DR970X that just came out. I got that on my windshield right now, and I've got the new Ring camera. So I'm playing with those, and I'm like focused on doing video quality comparisons. I got up early at 5 a.m. this morning to go test nighttime footage, and then one of my cameras wasn't recording. Ran into an issue there, so I have to go redo that. And like just to like spend a ton of time testing and reviewing because I want to find the best option. And yet I also, at the same time, in addition to like watching the progress and the development and enjoying the progression of stuff, sometimes I just want a good option that I can stick on my windshield and I don't have to focus about it and I can move on with my life, Like at some point I'm like, testing is awesome, don't get me wrong, but like I just want a good radar detector and a good laser jammer and a good dash cam and cool. I'm done with my search. I am satisfied. I am happy. I can move on with my life. Like that would also be nice too. I don't know if that's realistic. And I mean, part of the fun is the fact that things keep getting better, Like, I don't know. So I also think, what if we get to that dream situation where we have one ideal, awesome option? Would it then feel like there's no other competition and there's just that option? And that's sort of like, okay, well, there's no point of continuing to search. Would we then just get complacent and not care? Or like, do we always want more? Are we always going to be wanting longer range and whatever? Yeah. So I don't know. A lot of stuff, a lot of thoughts in my head. I know I'm just like kind of in rapid fire mode because I don't want to forget something, but explore Casper. Yes, we always want more. I think that's just the nature of life, is we're always wanting more in life, more money or more happiness or more range or better BSM filtering or whatever, like we all want more, but I guess in the process, I want to make sure that I'm enjoying this, to make this a sustainable thing, like the passion and enthusiasm. If I lose that, like, screw this, I'll do something else, like for me, that's important, to just go through life with joy and enthusiasm. Like for me personally, I mean, yeah, I do this for a living, but like, yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Just checking out on some of the comments now, see what you guys are saying. DFR9 is a good option for a super cheap detector. Jeff Reddy, I think the enthusiasm fades when you have so much knowledge about something. This is true in all pursuits I found. Interesting. Can you elaborate more on that? I'd be curious. I mean, because that would be kind of nice to know if it's not just me, right? If you guys have experienced something similar. Yeah, I can see Mark B. How is the Ring Cam? I haven't actually installed it yet. I've been super focused on the A139 Pro and the new Blackview one, so it's literally just still sitting here in the box. Open it up so you can take a look. So this is it right here. I've got 30 days with it. It came a little bit sooner than I was hoping. I'm probably going to test it and return it because from what I've seen, this doesn't really seem like something I would want to keep long term. So I kind of want to get that done sooner rather than later, but right now the focus is on like A139 Pro. I've got 2 of those in the car, and then the new black view. I've got the DR970X. I think this comes out next month. So I've been doing some testing with this alongside the 900X Plus. That's kind of been an interesting one to take a look at that comparison too. So a lot of stuff kind of in the pipeline that I'm testing. Let's see. Jesse. Oh, thank you, Jesse, for that super chat donation. I appreciate that. That means a lot. Mo's Adventures. You should know that you're the best. All the countermeasure companies had their eyes on your work. Redenzo's update video, for example. Yeah, I mean, I'm glad they released an update. It's, I guess, a little disappointing that we don't have something more concrete, and I know they're kind of prioritizing other stuff, which totally makes sense from a business perspective, but doesn't take away, I guess, from the frustration from our perspective and the desire to like finally have the thing, you know? So, I mean, I'm glad they gave us an update nonetheless, even if it's not what we wanted to hear. But yeah, it can't be an easy position for them. I don't envy the position that they're in. So hopefully it comes out. Wish them all the best. I want one. Yeah. Let's see. Colin Cutler, thank you for your videos. Even though I don't have a radar detector, I did buy a VFO A119V3 per your recommendation. Great. Yeah, that's been a pretty solid choice. Speaking of the VFOs, I'm working currently on a video of like the best, or well, kind of going over all the different VFO dash cams. I've already shot that video. I've got it sent over to an editor that I'm trialing out, going back and forth on like requesting improvements and changes and fixes to their edit. And then we go through another draft. So once I'm satisfied with their edit of that video, I'll be able to upload that. So anyway, that's another video that's upcoming too. Mario Luigi, I think you should review based on value in terms of return per investment. Assign certain attributes to all detectors with a certain value and see what each company sells that product for. That's actually something I've been thinking about that I've never known how to actually do that. Kind of like the equivalent of a Doug score for his cars, you know, assign a certain value to range, BSM filtering, build quality, lockouts, customer service, whatever. It's hard to quantify that kind of stuff. Like, let's say we were to give the original Escort Redline a 10 for range, right? But now we have a lot of detectors that have outclassed it. Do that start going to like 11 or 12? How do I think of that of like, oh, it does better on K-band, but not on KA, or with certain filters or BSM filtering? It's hard to like quantify that as well to say how good is it based on how many cars it filters out and what your settings are and what the alert presentation is like. And like, it's hard to do that. And you can't run multiple detectors at the same time to compare BSM filtering, you know? So that's also a really good example of something that I would love to do too, but I don't know how to actually execute that in a meaningful way to do it accurately. So, but yeah, I love the idea as well. I thought about it a lot. Oh, DJ, hey, thanks for the super chat donation. Any news on when Uniden plans to release a Bluetooth software or app for the R8? I just did a video about that I published yesterday. I don't know when it's going to be released. I mean, I've been beta testing it for a little while. I don't know when they're going to release it. All this future stuff I've been noticing, like double-edged sword, which is talking about like, hey, you know, stuff that companies have in the pipeline that they're working on, right? It's always fun. I know you guys are always asking about future stuff, and I want to know too. Like, it's fun, but it's real life. Things can get delayed. Stuff can happen for endless laundry list of reasons, right? So I don't have a crystal ball. I mean, even if companies tell me stuff like, hey, this is our plan to release at this date, maybe or maybe not. I've noticed in the past. So it's hard to, again, but my desire to like keep my accuracy as high as possible, even stuff that I don't have any control over, or sometimes they don't have any control over. It's just, yeah. So I wish I had a good answer for you, but future stuff I often don't know. Maybe if I do, I kind of take it with a grain of salt, you know. Lottie UFC 10. I've got a DFR9 black that is good enough. Or is that good enough for Central California and motorcycle cops? Actually, yeah. I mean, California, it's almost exclusively KA-band. I think I've heard of a couple reports here and there KA-band, but I know a lot of people in California just shut off KA-band altogether. So you can just run it on KA. They're mostly 34/7 with CHP. I think I've seen like 35/5 by some, what is it, like park rangers or something. But yeah, I mean, the Uniden DFR series are surprisingly strong on 34/7. So I would just, if it was me, run it on KA only, shut off X and K. If you have any extra money, just put it towards laser jammers or something, because that I think would give you a lot more value and protection than like a better radar detector. So that's a nice little like awesome bang for the buck. Speaking of which, I can see some of you guys are talking about the 70 Dashcam Omni. I did do a video kind of talking about it. They've offered me to one to test. Don't have time. Maybe at some point I'll test it, but I've got 4 dash cams on my windshield right now, and I've got more here sitting that I'm trying to get done. So that's actually been a struggle for me. I'm a little envious of people who can like test a lot of products. Been trying to get help with that, but yeah, the way that I do them, like extensive, exhaustive testing, it's hard to do a lot of stuff. So it's a dream of mine, test lots of stuff, but that's why my wish list of stuff that I want to test is so long. Let's see. J10. I think your reviews are thorough and honest. You're not negative at all. I think it might be a really nice addition if you could show what the cables look like. Style can impact decisions. Did for me. Interesting. I wonder about that sometimes because I'm usually just hardwiring my radar detectors, and so like the cables that it come with is like a little bit of an afterthought. But if I'm going on a rental car, sometimes it's nice to have like a remote me button or something. But that's a good point. I can maybe when I do reviews, I'll be like, hey, here's the power cable. It's got a USB cable and like a remote mute button and whatever. They're all pretty similar at this point, but yeah, it's nice to point that out too. Let's see. Richard, so forget about perfect. That doesn't mean we want junk either, but there's a big world's difference between perfect and something that just works. CR, Consumer Reports, I believe, never gives a score of 100, but a score of 90 is good and useful. Yeah, that kind of gets back to the discussion before on like the Doug score or the non-existent Vortex radar score of how this kind of stuff goes. On my website, I do kind of have like 4 stars and 5 stars, which I'm not a super huge fan of, but that's just I'm trying to make it simple and easy for people to see, like what's good, what's not, that kind of stuff. Yeah, so how to make stuff simple without oversimplifying is definitely an interesting thing to experiment with. Stan Cummings, do you have any idea when or if any other vendors plan on selling the TMG? I ordered them from Radar Busters and they haven't shipped with, yet they show in stock. Yeah, I've been seeing a number of people getting their shipping labels and it hasn't shipped yet, which is not the first time. I've actually been talking to a couple other potential dealers. Some want to do wholesale, some distribution. Looking for different options for that. I don't know if anybody's received their Alpha 17s yet. I would love to do kind of an updated video on like, hey, the new TMGs, Uniden's working on their own jammers, and kind of like best laser jammer. So ALP versus TMG, Escort, Stinger, TPX, Uniden, all that kind of stuff. So another fun one that I want to do. I kind of have an idea for a lot of the stuff already, but obviously I need to like test it to verify and whatnot. But yeah. Backwards. Being a negative or positive person isn't the same as giving a negative or positive review. You can still be a positive person and still give a critical review. Thank you. Yeah. A good example that I like, MKBHD. He's one of my favorite tech reviewers. He focuses on like phones and sort of general tech, cars and all sorts of stuff, cameras. I really like his approach because he's pretty like chill and laid back. I can get more heated. Yeah, but he's more laid back, and I really like the way that he gives critical reviews. He's really straightforward, but he doesn't like beat people up about it. And I think he does a really good job of like maintaining the balance. And that's actually something that I look at and I strive for is like focusing on the good and the bad and how to present the information kindly and directly, and constructively. So I don't think I'm perfect, but it definitely is something that I want to continue to get better at, and I'm thinking about a lot. So anyway, that's a good example of somebody that I do like who does a good job with that. Let's see, Zach, will there be a video on installing the new R8 update? I've done several videos on that. See, I've searched the forums and I can't find anything. I think a series on how to update each radar detector from start to finish would be nice. I've done that, I believe, everything from like the installation, where to download, how to go through the drivers, if you're doing it on Mac, how to get around some of the security restrictions and how to plug it in, and the fact that your display doesn't turn on when you plug it into the computer, how to go find the update software if that update software can't find it yet, like, or find the new firmware. So I believe I've done that. Just search my channel. I don't think anything has changed since, but yeah, I've tried to do that. Some things I'm still behind on. I need to do like update or tutorials for, I know, MaxCam and Max 360C Mark II and Whistler Titan and Yeah. I would love to have a whole team to like help me out with this stuff, but it is what it is. Just one dude sitting at home on a Friday afternoon, hanging out with you guys, chatting about radar detectors and making videos. So let's see. Matt, V1 Gen 1 with V1 driver still kicking it after all these years. Thanks for all the info over the years. Man, yeah, that's still a great choice. That was the detector that really got me into the hobby as well. Still a great option. I never want to sell mine. I've got some detectors that are like discontinued or gone, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'll give them away or maybe I'll hold on to them for years to test like different generations of products. But I don't think I'll ever get rid of the V1 Gen 1 solid detector and a kind of sentimental value too. Let's see. Zach, coming back to the R8 update stuff. I think I'm just confused by the different file names for the R8 compared to others. Sorry if that's confusing. Um, Maybe check out my tutorials. If you have any questions specifically, hop on the forums. I try to avoid doing like tech support type stuff. So if you head to the forums, like that would be the best way to kind of drill into some of these specific details and get your questions answered. Street Cat, V1 Gen 2 working great for me with JBV1 and Waze, all running in the North Carolina mountains. Yeah, great combo. I'm curious in your thoughts of why you would want to run both JBV1 and Waze. I know JBV1 can do pretty much everything the Waze can do and more. So I'm curious about kind of the benefits of running both, except for maybe navigation, perhaps. I mean, you could run Google Maps, whatever. Dwight, you don't have enough to do. Time for another kiddo. No, thank you. We're good at two. Like, we're done. We are done. So, thanks. I don't know. Yeah, we're not gonna be one of those people who are like, I want to have 10 kids. It's like, no thanks. But props to you if you want to. Uh, Meyer K, who app or which app do you prefer for the V1? Um, JBV1 for sure. On iPhone, I'm kind of used to V1 Driver. V1 Companion does do some cool new stuff with like controlling the volume levels of the V1 that V1 Driver can't. So that's a cool option to do. Um, but yeah, if I want to grab the V1, it would be with JBV1. Roland Barnes will be doing a video on the International 1.49 of the R7. Also on my to-do list. Sorry. For that would be a two-part video. Grab the Spectres, do Spectre testing to test the Spectre immunity feature. So like go into the car with, 1.43 or whatever the current Uniden version is, and then load on 1.50 International and test the Spectre features, and then do a second video going over that. It's been on my list for a while, and yeah, I'm sorry. Been a struggle. So, but yeah, I would love to. Let's see. Sargun. Personally, I read only the negative reviews when I shop for a product. Love your videos and the level of detail. Though sometimes I still don't feel super clear on what to buy, though. Yes, 100%. That's also one of the interesting things, too. So, negative reviews, absolutely. They can be informative to know about reliability issues or features that don't work and whatever. Especially on Amazon, a lot of people are like only positive. That's actually the second part of your question, though. Sometimes I still don't feel super clear on what to buy, though. That's also an interesting thing. So, like, from the reviewer's perspective, I'm like, hey, I want to give you a lot of options because, like, I don't know which one necessarily is best for all people. There's no one option that's best for everybody universally, right? So it's like, hey, if you've got this, maybe if you live in these areas, you want something with better photo radar detection. So look at these. And I try to do my best to cover a lot of options depending on what's what, but I know there can be a ton of details. It can be hard to narrow it down. And so I'll sometimes then try to like make an executive decision and just say, yo, you want the best detector, which I don't think there is one. But let's say for the sake of discussion, get the best detector, go get the R8 or the Redline 360C or the V1 Gen 2 with JBV1. That's not going to be appropriate for everybody. And I don't think we're at that place yet to where I can say that. And so it's either I feel like too much complexity or oversimplified. And so like it's hard to really strike that balance. Yeah, if I say something is the best, I get accused of being a paid shill. If I try to recommend a lot of stuff and, whatever, then people don't know what to buy. So it's like, what do you do, It's just funny. Like, there's no way to win at the game, but I mean, I guess maybe I need to redefine winning. I don't know. Let's see. Challenger Jet Driver. Thanks for the content. Really appreciate the Redline 360C owner. What's the correct firmware version? I think the latest is like 1.10. I mean, just hop on Wi-Fi. It'll update itself to whatever the latest is. So, Chad Delarm, is Washington State a KA band only state? Nope. I've seen K band in smaller towns. I've seen it down I-5 as you go down towards Portland. I've seen it if you cross over the mountains. There's a lot of just cities. I mean, Issaquah. I've seen it in Kirkland. I've seen it in Everett. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of places that still use K band. KA band is definitely much more popular, especially by the Washington State Patrol. But I mean, Bellevue is KA. So no, it's not KA only, but there is a lot of KA band. So I know some people do like to just disable K band out here, but cost benefit analysis, with the risk reward. Okay, Street Cat. I was asking about like why run JBV1 and Waze. He was saying JBV1 shows the heat map on my phone, but not Waze on my infotainment system. Well, that makes sense. Yeah. So maybe Waze on like CarPlay or Android Auto. I guess Android Auto, and then maybe JBV1 on the phone. So yeah, that could work. Let's see. Sarah, there could be multiple options like money is no object or user friendliness or best minimum viable product, particularly on dash cams. Yeah, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Another video I want to do is like best dash cams, which still want to do too. So like you've got your budget option, basic front and rear one, or higher end, good video quality, or you want the cloud stuff or long-term parking recording. So yeah, no, I agree. It's like anything, whatever your needs are, pick the best tool for the job. Matt, high expectations means you know what makes a good radar detector or camera. Hopefully, it drives them to improve their products and features over time. I hope so too. That's the goal, right? To where we can all benefit from getting better countermeasures and better options. So, totally agree. Obi-Wan Kenobi. I might be biased, lol, but the best recommendations for a given user might be filling out the radar detector recommendation form on RDF. Yeah, that's a great option too. There's a lot of good feedback that people give too, based on that guide on budget and where you drive and that kind of stuff. So, Moe's Adventures. I think you would have fun testing in Edmonton. Yeah, I drove up there a couple years back before having kids to go do some MRCD testing, and it was cool to meet with a lot of the Canadians up there. I got shot with the Dragon Eye on the way in, which felt perfect and so fitting. Loved it. But yeah, let's see. Meyer K. This is for the Blackview LTE models. What was? Maybe go back. You're asking something about that. There's a new actually LTE module that's going to be coming out next month too. So it has GPS built in, but same thing. Rome, the dashcam marketplace needs someone. Okay, maybe we can like start to shift gears and talk about dashcams next. I know we've been focusing on radar detectors first, but Rome's question: the dashcam marketplace needs someone to be super critical of the products right now. Yeah, I wonder, is that question kind of like a follow up to Linus's video, where he was talking about how a lot of them share the same stuff. A lot of dash cams, I mean, yeah, video quality, we want more or whatever. Yes. I mean, I try to do, I guess, my part with that kind of stuff, focus on the good and bad, just like anything. But dash cam reviews, they're very time consuming. Trying to figure out how to get that one done faster too. But I feel like that takes even more time than a radar detector does. But yeah, try to test a lot. I think I got in the past 3 days, I've gotten like 5 requests for different companies. Like, hey, can you test and review my products? Saw your YouTube videos, saw you on Dashcam Talk forums. Can you test it? I'm like, do you realize how much time it takes to do a review? And I get multiple requests a day, most of them from no-name companies that have nothing, no offense, but like nothing unique or interesting to offer. It's just another box that records whatever resolution, maybe just parking mode. Like, I'm looking for something interesting and unique and special and noteworthy if I'm gonna like dedicate time to it. So, but yeah, it's so time consuming. You have to be very selective. Meyer K. I was talking about the people that can spy on Blackview LTE users. Okay, yeah. Yeah, they have the new feature where the stuff is shared. You can share your videos and stuff. I definitely disable that for privacy reasons. But yeah, there's more stuff with that. They're actually going to be expanding on that. They just released or they sent out an email and posted on Twitter like this morning about the new version of their app that's coming out. That's going to have kind of more social sharing type stuff. That app is going to be coming out next month, along with some of their upcoming new dash cams. So they're actually going to be expanding a lot of the like share your videos with friends online type stuff. So yeah, there's going to be more of that. Just make sure you lock down the security features and whatnot. Randy, time to make a new brand, Vortex Radar. I don't think so. I've had offers for that in the past, but I don't know. I feel like if I was to go and dedicate myself to creating a product, then I would lose my objectivity and ability to like sit back and review all of them. And so in my interest to like focus on one thing and make that really good, it might be the best, it might not, but I don't think it would be a fair place for me to judge and say this is the best because I'm now very much incentivized to promote this one. So I try to like hope that manufacturers will do their due diligence and put in the R&D and the manufacturing and all the stuff that honestly I don't really know about, like running a big business and hiring employees and doing that type of R&D and manufacturing and all that kind of stuff. Like that's not my forte. So I'm just hoping that companies can step up and continue to improve in that regard, and I'll just kind of be the person who's like testing stuff and sharing what I like, good and bad, and then companies can do with that information what they will, just like they listen to other reviewers and Amazon reviews and whatever the same. So yeah. Let's see. Moe's Adventures. I saw a Blackview LTE user that was at driving school. That was interesting. Oh, cool. I've seen some like buses and stuff in like other countries in like Eastern Europe or something. So I've kind of like flown around and just tour the world when I'm bored or something. Like, oh, I want to travel. Let me just go hop on the Blackview app and watch people driving in different parts of the world. So it could be fun. JTR. Does it matter if a radar detector isn't stealth? In the US, for most of us, no. Um, there are places around the world where like they're highly prohibited, and I'm not going to advocate breaking the law or anything. Um, but I know there's people who are like, hey, I need a stealth detector because, well, penalties can be thousands of dollars or thousands of euros, or they'll confiscate my detector, or if I have a custom installed one, they'll tow my car, or they'll cut the laser jammers out of my car. Like penalties vary substantially around the world. And so, I mean, here in the US, for most of us, it's not a big deal. Um, but I know for other people all around the world, that can be a big deal. So maybe it's a little bit more important than pop detection. But realistically, for most of us, at least here in the United States, it's not a huge deal. Ontario, more useful. Western Europe, definitely more important there. So let's see, discussion on auto lockouts. As far as dash cams, though, no, we're focusing on that. That's been an interesting thing. I know I did the video of the Starvis 2 with the VFO A139 Pro. I've got 3 different battery packs over here I want to do a video on. So like the new Blackview and Black Box My Car and ThinkWare battery packs also on the list. So I'm just kind of like powering them up and test how long they record for. And so that's also a thing to do. A139 Pro, got a series of videos that I want to do on that as well. I'm still thinking about like bundling everything up into one video or doing kind of smaller videos before I get to the final review as I'm learning and testing. So yeah, just stuff. The Ring Cam. Have you guys seen this one? Here, I'll take it out of the box for the first time. We can take a look at it together. But have any of you guys like bought one of these or looked into it? It's basically here. I haven't actually taken it out yet. So here it is. Basically, like sticks down in the car. Got a little double stick tape here to stick onto the glass, and I guess this thing tilts. There we go. Okay, cool. Then yeah, 2 lenses, front and rear. So 1080p for the front, 1080p for the rear, and it has like this privacy thing. Oh, that's kind of slick. Kind of goes into the bottom. So if you want to like hide the interior cam and turn off the mic, you can do that. It's pretty cool. You do have to pay, I think, like $6 a month for the LTE service, the data service. There's no like micro SD card, so it seems to be kind of more of like a Ring security camera than truly a dash cam, from what I've been seeing. So it's a slightly different approach here with this one. So Meyer, let's see. It doesn't do well with sound. If your music is really loud, it sounds bad. That's a good note. Thank you. I'll have to test that as well. But yeah, I mean, it integrates with the Ring app. So if you've got like Ring security cameras and stuff, I've got some of those. Curious to test it out. It's interestingly USB Type-C, but you're not supposed to power it with USB Type-C. You're supposed to power it with the OBD2 connector. I have heard some people try to test it out with like Dashcam battery packs and stuff. So that can be something to play with. I don't think that its data connection can turn itself into a Wi-Fi hotspot. I'm curious to see, like, can I use my existing Wi-Fi hotspot and not pay the $6 a month for this? What features do you have versus what you lose? Like, there's a lot of questions I have. Video quality and speed of the cloud capabilities. My initial thoughts are that it's going to be kind of like a Blackview dash cam where the focus is on the cloud, so to speak, the connected stuff, more so than video quality. So it's kind of like a budget Blackview with a much more visible design, right? Doesn't hide behind the rearview mirror. You have this thing that is like right there. So I don't know. I'm curious. Test it out before I come to any like final conclusions or anything. That's why you get one. But anyway, the Ring camera. I think it's like $200 on pre-order. It's gonna be $250 if you go on Amazon now and buy it. Ex-auto analyst. Really curious how the Garmin cameras are. I feel like, yeah, Garmin's, I mean, the brand is great. I love Garmin as a brand for like, outdoorsy stuff, GPSs and all that. The watches can be cool. But the dash cams, I haven't seen anything super impressive per se. I mean, I know they have like the tiny little one, and they do some stuff with their apps to like blend multiple dash cams together. So that's cool. But I haven't seen anything like super interesting with the Garmin brand. I think it's just more of, actually reminds me kind of like the Ring one. Like it's a well-known brand, but I don't know how good the dash cam is. It's just, we'll see. So let's see. Oh, another question. Money is no object. In your opinion, what's the best dash cam offering front and rear protection? Right now, that would be VFO A139 Pro, the 2-channel, front and rear. Like if I was to pick one, I've even started including that in like the link in my, like if you go down and, the video description, essentially, you'll see like, oh, recommended equipment, right? So it'll be like, maybe the R8 or the ALP or whatever. I've actually started changing it over to the A139 Pro 2-channel as like the recommended dash cam, kind of your standard go-to if I was just to give a really simple answer, But yeah, the video quality is definitely better than the new Blackview that's coming out. Better than like older generation dash cams. And I'm sure there's going to be other Starvis 2 dash cams coming out. There's rumors of like an A229 Pro. I do know of some other Starvis 2 dash cams that haven't been officially announced yet that are in the works. And I know there's many other manufacturers also working on it. But so far, it's the only one. And so right now, yeah, it's the best. It's not perfect either, but Brian M, coming back to the Ring option. The OBD port isn't designed to be in use for extended periods of time. I'd like to see how they get around this. So that's been a common area of discussion I've been seeing because there can be issues with people's cars plugging into the OBD. Now, what I wonder about is I know like the V1 Gen 2, you've got Savvy that plugs in there. And there's other dash cams. I think ThinkWare offers one. What's the other manufacturer? I'm trying to remember the name. But yeah, they have like an OBD2 power port and it just plugs in there. I haven't heard a ton of issues about that. But there are some reports here and there of a variety of conflicts and issues that can happen with cars and messing with like the power supply in the car and the wiring harness and stuff when it plugs into OBD. So I'm hopeful that it works out well. But I mean, we've had dash cams already that can rely on OBD2 and radar detectors as well. So that's not a new thing necessarily. But yeah, here we go. GT Pro beat me to the punch about the OBD2. There's a case out there where someone used that for lowering his insurance with one of those insurance dongles that ruined his car. Yeah. So there's reports of that stuff too. Insurance wouldn't take responsibility. I also, in my head, I'm thinking about how widespread is this issue? Because if you go on forums, for example, it's kind of like the complaint area. So that's where people go if they have an issue to need help, right? And so you're going to see issues with, pick any product, you're going to see complaints, right? And issues. So I think how widespread is that issue? Is that something that's worth like bringing to light publicly? Is it maybe here or there it's an issue? Should people be concerned about it? Should they not? So I try to think about that. I don't always have the answer on it, but it is something that I think about when sharing this kind of stuff, right? Things to be aware of, or should I just stay silent on it and not scare people unnecessarily? So, yeah. Tweezy, in your opinion, what are the chances we get an update for the Redline 360C reaction time? I don't know. Hopeful. I know that they're working on it. I can't speak or feature stuff. That's just, yeah. Don't know. I'm hopeful. I don't know. I figured, it's something that should have been addressed a while ago, but yeah. Paul, any good tutorial videos for laser jammer setup? Nothing recently. At this point, I've done some videos, and now I just have like professional installers do it for me. Use Musicar Northwest in Portland or Systems Unlimited in Bellevue. But But I mean, I've done some installations. Like I did one on the Escort ZW5 in my wife's car, a Honda Fit, a couple years back. Take a look at that. Um, but usually it's one of those where it should be pretty straightforward. You can read over the manual. Some of the specifics, like how you mount it in your grill and run wires and stuff, I mean, might be specific to your car. But a lot of times you're like, hey, if you're not super comfortable with it, just take it to an installer and they can do it for you. So it's not really something that I do myself. I know some cars are easier to work on than others too. So yeah. For what it's worth, Valentine 1 will give you $110 to trade into a Gen 2. Do they still do that? I thought their trade-in program has been deactivated for a while now due to like part shortages and stuff, but I don't think it's been re-enabled yet. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, of course, but I know it's been down for a while. Yeah, I just talked to someone last week. Oh, cool. I guess that's coming back. That's cool. That's definitely convenient, the trade-in process, if you don't want to sell it yourself, the old Detector. They just, when they take the Detector, they destroy the old ones, and they just give you a credit as like a way of saying, thank you, essentially, for being a repeat customer. But yeah, that's great to hear that option is now opening back up again for people who want to take advantage of it. So yay. Thanks for the heads up, Pete. Meyer, what about tutorial videos on how to hardwire a V1 Gen 2? I've done a couple videos about how to hardwire radar detectors, basically tapping into your fuse box for accessory triggered power and for ground. It applies to the V1, applies to Escorts and Redensos and Unitons and everything else too. But yeah, I've done a couple videos on that as well. Even videos on like how to use the mirror tap cable if you want to power your V1 off the rearview mirror instead of run a cable down, across the headliner and into the fuse box. So yeah, you can check out those videos. Just search. Bill Dunn, do you think there will be a price drop on the R4? Future question. I don't know. I ain't got no crystal ball. But I know they have been dropping their prices already. They were like, what, $449? Now they're $379. I think I was looking yesterday. Renzo DS1 also now is like $369 or something. So that price has gone down. Yeah, prices change. Sometimes we get sales. I don't know. Let's see. I have a Gen 2 Escort Redline. Do you mean like the original Redline with BSRDR, or what do you mean AC? Has an error message to service. I tried to get someone from Escort and hit a wall. Yeah, I'm not sure if they're still servicing the original Redlines. You might be a little bit out of luck. I don't know. Yeah, you just have to check in with them. Bill Dunn, who has it for $379? I think just on Amazon or something. Like the United's website as well. Here, let me pull it up. $381 right now on Amazon. The United's website. I think they're $379 there. Yeah, $379 directly on United's website. Just use any of the links. So the links that I send you to on my website or the video, usually they have multiple options to be like, hey, you can buy it from BRD. He's got the same pricing. You can buy it from Amazon. You can buy it from United, whatever. Those will just take you directly there, and you can compare prices and stuff. So, hey, what's up, Curtis? Good to see you. Live chat. Looks so old. Must be the kids. Moving on. Let's see. So coming back to the original Redline, AC was talking about that. The original one with the silicone surface. Yeah. They made a case design to the outside. It didn't affect any of the internals or anything with respect to service. And so it's just sent back. And but yeah, I do like kind of that silicone, almost matte type texture better than like the glossy one they came out with later. But yeah. Thomas, right now, would you buy the R8 or latest and greatest Escort? I literally just posted a video about that yesterday where I went into that exact discussion quite a bit. So just check out the video from yesterday. Yeah, you can take a look at that. Ex-auto analyst, any idea what causes MRCD alerts when there's no MRCD? I've seen it from some Ford trucks. I've seen some like traffic sensors and kind of like on traffic lights and stuff that don't necessarily issue tickets or anything. They're not cameras for that, but sometimes they do have like radar that they transmit. I've seen some door openers, I believe, can also trigger MRCD. So yeah, they false to MRCD. Those are some of the common things. Maybe some of you guys in the chat, you can also mention things that you've seen your unit detectors false to MRCD too. Coming back. So noticed it on the freeways around here. Might shut it off. Yeah. Is it like always in the same location on the freeways, or is it maybe comes and goes. So I'm kind of thinking like, is it some fixed source or is it like a blind spot false that's triggering it? Fixed. Could be just a traffic sensor on the side of the highway. Yeah. I mean, auto mute memory is working. Yeah, that's useful. um, yeah, I mean, that's I guess what the feature is for, right? There are stationary sources, and that's convenient. So yeah, just block them out and whatever, move on. But let's see. Jason, coming back to I guess the point of the video. In your latest video, you're pretty repetitive in your comments. I wouldn't say negative. Companies need to live up to the claims they make. Thanks for as always for the great content. Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I get a little annoyed too. I don't want to like beat people over the head, especially with something that they're still actively working on and it takes a while. And like I get it, things take longer than expected. So yeah, yeah, yeah. Blue Devil 03. Who's leading the game in laser jammers right now? Still ALP. Still the one to get. Um, it's kind of interesting. Like they're still the best laser jammers, which I kind of wonder to what degree that discourages them from like really evolving. Like they have made some updates, like the new TX blackheads, and now there's serial numbers that the ALP can read, and it can tell you like if certain TX blackheads are disconnected. Pretty recently, it couldn't do that. So they've been making some improvements, but I still think there's a lot of room for improvement. Like, why are they charging $100 plus for like a Bluetooth module? Everything has Bluetooth. It's cheap. It's just, oh, if you want the ALP, you got to get Bluetooth. So it's a nice profit thing for them. Or why does the speaker and the control pad and Bluetooth all plug into one port? So that you run into conflicts if you're trying to run everything at the same time. So you have to decide, okay, maybe I won't use Bluetooth. I'll use my speaker. And it's like, well, just have a headphone jack. Solves the speaker issue. Or just have Bluetooth built in so you can use it while running a speaker at the same time. It's just like some of the redesign to maybe make it more modern, I think, are pretty straightforward. But is there the incentive for them to do that if there's good profit margin on the accessories? And people like me will still say, well, it's the best laser jammer, so just go get it. And you're like, well, you got to deal with some of these silly design decisions that I think should be improved upon and updated, you know? So, yeah, thinking aloud. Carlos S. Tech. Have you seen police out there use Decatur K-band gun? Here in Henderson, Nevada, they bought new ones. Thought it was a false, but then I saw a bike cop. I went to ask him, and they said they bought the new Decatur. Which one is it? I know there was like the Genesis VP. I don't know if they've made a new model in a while. It might have just been they bought new to them guns. But yeah, I mean, Decatur isn't as or as popular, but there are people that do it. I mean, out here we have some like custom K-band guns, like the Falcon HR. I mean, yeah, there's some that are in use. In Mexico, they use the Bushnell Velocities, the ones you can buy on Amazon for like $100. So, I mean, yeah, cops use K-band guns too. GT Pro, Thea question. With all the things people are showing that AI can do, I wonder if that's a window into what we could expect from Redenso's Thea. Potentially. I mean, AI, it's like we're getting into the age of AI where it's doing some pretty incredible things in many different areas, you know? Um, Redenso has given us a pretty good idea as far as some of their capabilities and even years ago, you know, as far as some of the BSM elimination and recognizing different types of signals, right? Constant on, instant on, photo radar, classifying different signals. Like there's cool stuff there. So, I mean, but obviously at this point, it's like, great. Can you release it? Great, but can you release it? You know, so we're all just kind of sitting there, and it's like, I mean, yeah, I'm glad that they're pushing the envelope and trying something new. You know, I think more companies should try to do that instead of just releasing another detector that's like, oh, we added a new type of Bluetooth. There's now Bluetooth LE, or we added Wi-Fi in it. It's an all new detector. It's like at least they're really trying to do something. It's hard to do that, but like, I hope it comes out. So, Lugnut, mainly due to your reviews. I picked up my radar detectors. Started with the Redenso Pro M. Cool. Onto the R7. Then the V1 Gen 2 since I use it on a motorcycle, and just got an R8. Not disappointed yet. Yeah, great options. Welcome to the club of trying a bunch of different detectors and choosing the one that looks the best. Chris Coral, dude, you look tired. Bags under those eyes. Kids still not sleeping? Hashtag dad life. Yeah, started waking up more again. We're kind of getting to the point where like our younger one was starting to sleep through the night, and then he got sick. Now, daughter sick, wife sick, mom sick. I'm healthy. life. I'm grateful. I mean, there's people in way worse conditions than we are. It's not anything super bad. It's just like runny noses and coughs and like the usual colds and stuff. Nothing super bad, you know. But yeah. Cable K, can you explain why there's a few speed signs around me that my V1 Gen 2 barely detects on K band on the side when driving by? But all the other signs are detected with plenty of distance. Yeah, I've actually done a video talking about that. Um, yeah, different techs, like Obira is saying, sometimes there's frequency fluctuations. Uh, there's a variety of stuff. They're not necessarily going to be the same as like police radar, and so a radar detector may filter that out, thinking correctly that it's a false alert, which then people get concerned about of like, is my detector not working properly? And so yeah, I've got a video that kind of goes over some of the common reasons why that can happen, and you can check it out. And it literally even has a V1 Gen 2 like as one of the demo clips. And like I go by it once and it alerts, and I go by it again and it doesn't alert. And you're like, what's with the inconsistency? Like that totally happens with many different detectors. Like, yeah, speed signs can be weird. Let's see, Carlos. I'm testing the Nextbase 622 dash cam versus the Cobra 400D. And Nextbase is nice, but I have erase memory card when it fills up, or it won't loop record. That's weird. It should loop record when the card is full. I don't know. I mean, it should. That's weird. I thought every dash cam should do that. I don't think there's a setting to turn that off. Could double check your settings, but it should automatically start loop recording once the card is full. That's like dash cams 101. Ryan makes light. Do you know if there's a way to back up all my auto lockouts from the R7? Excuse me. I've had some issues and I would hate to lose them over the years. Unfortunately, no. You would have to have something like an app with like Bluetooth. The R7 doesn't support, no Bluetooth. Or connect it to your computer and like grab the lockouts and save them to your computer. R7 is not compatible with that either. You need like an R8 or an R4 or something. So there's no capability doing that. I don't think the computer software lets you back up lockouts. I could be wrong. Somebody could fact check me on that, but I know you can definitely do your settings. I don't think you can do what's it called, lockouts, but that would certainly be cool. Um, yeah. Antonio, any idea where I can find a speaker for my R3? Sound stopped working randomly. I know that's been a known issue, especially with some of the earlier R3s. You can reach out to Uniden's customer service, see if they can take care of you. If not, I know I did this with the original Redline years ago. You just open up the case, take a look at like the part number written on the speaker, and you can order another one on eBay or Mouser or Amazon or wherever. I don't know, like 10, 12 bucks, whatever it is, $6. Just order another speaker, take out the old one, put it back in. Sometimes you'll just want to double check, make sure the impedance matches and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, you can take a look at my old Redline video from like almost a decade ago or whatever that is, when I had a Redline speaker below and I did the speaker replacement. Um, and that might be able to guide you to some extent with the R3 version if you want to DIY it, or check the forums. Maybe somebody else has done that as well, and you can take a look at some photos. But Rome, any news on the R8 Bluetooth update? Nope. I wish. I wish. Let's see. Who's that? Nope, not for me. Jason, my first detector was a Maxon RD1 back in 1987. Awesome. That was a few years after I was born. I don't think I have one of those, but yeah. Vlad G, when's the next giveaway? Um, I've been giving away a couple things actually the past few days on RDF. I gave away a dash cam and a radar detector. Just old stuff. I do have like a pair of DR900X X's, I think, or pluses or something. I don't know if I'm going to give them away or sell them online or something. So, yeah. But I don't have any giveaways necessarily planned per se. Maybe the next holidays or something. That's usually when I'll do one, if I've got the energy and the time. Ride for Life. I've already installed the Blackview 750 LTE and the Blackview 130 battery for parking mode. Awesome. How do you like the combination? I've got actually both of those sitting right here as well. Let's see. Backwards. So yeah, new drinking game for R8 Bluetooth or TMG Alpha 17 ship date. Those are funny ideas. Yeah, now that it's not so much Thea stuff, we need new ideas. So I'll do that with my coffee. It's not spiked or anything. It's just coffee, but why not? It's fun. David, V1 Gen 2 still has some ramp up issues. What have you been seeing in that regard? Like K or KA, what settings, what guns? Because usually the V1 has been pretty good. I know it's kind of a lazy ramp up compared to some other detectors. It's not as aggressive earlier on. KA band. What do you mean? Can you maybe elaborate a little bit on that? In the meantime, Noel Flores, any updates on the DS1? I don't think there's been any updates for a little while. Maybe some red light camera updates, but I don't think anything firmware wise for a little while. There was the MaxCam update that came out yesterday. I did a quick article on my website about it, just very minor update, but nothing recently as far as the DS1. Let's see, Ride for Life. The Black View is a nice system, but the live notification. Um, Yeah, I mean, that's I think the main reason that we get it is all the like live cloud alerts and stuff. It's at 12 o'clock. I'm probably going to wrap this up here in a little bit just because I want to grab a bunch of memory cards out of my car. I did a bunch of driving again this morning. Daytime footage, so doing like license plate comparisons with 4 different cameras. So I want to get to that for an upcoming video that I'm working on. But this is fun and honestly kind of uplifting. I started this video thinking like, am I being too negative and am I being too critical? And kind of just like, well, I want to talk it over with you guys, but I feel good after like just having a chance to talk to you and socialize in a world where I'm just sitting at home, work from home. It does feel good. But anyway, I'll hang out here for another like 4 or 5 minutes or so, and then I'll go walk my doggy here. Want to say hi? Hi. Go walk him and then get back to working on videos and whatnot. But this, by the way, one of my favorite coffee mugs from the VLA in New Mexico. That was actually a lot of fun to go see all the satellite dishes. It's the one from Costco with, remember Jodie Foster with all of the like satellites pointing into the sky. That was fun on like a cross country road trip. But yeah, hang there. Work from home can get lonely sometimes. Yeah, that's one of the nice things about like going to the gym, which I restarted recently, which is fun. Now the kids are a little more independent. Or also like going to the grocery store, talking to people. That's kind of your, not necessarily like COVID lockdown or anything, but just work from home. It's nice to have like hang out with friends and see people and stuff. So, or this, not the same, but yeah. Oh, beer, you're being too critical on yourself. Isn't there that saying that's like you're your own worst enemy? Like everybody's hard on themselves. So I think about that when people want to like criticize me, and I'm like, oh, you want to criticize me? I'm a master at that. I know all my weaknesses and flaws. Like I can, man, let's go on all the stuff that I'm not doing a great job at. So it's funny. Yeah. Oh, here's one question. I'd attack. Did you hear anything about the ThinkWare U3000? Yep. Already filed for the FCC, and they mentioned about it at SEMA, but didn't go too detailed in it. Yeah, if you want to go see the FCC information is out there. Some of the stuff posted in the FCC documentation is not what should be in the finalized one. So like the sensor that they used for that dash cam is different than what should be in the final one. But that should be an interesting one to take a look at and test. I'm definitely looking forward to it. When the time comes with like the formal announcement and reviews and stuff, I definitely want to take a look at that. But yeah, kind of new ThinkWare Dashcam is in the works. So they mentioned about it at SEMA, but didn't get too detailed about it. Yeah, I wasn't sure if they were even officially announcing that when I did my video at SEMA. We were talking about the U3000 off camera, but they didn't want to go into it too much. As far as the details publicly yet, it was still too early. So sometimes, yeah, there's discussion about that kind of stuff, but they don't necessarily want to publish stuff until they have all the formal announcement stuff ready. Even some of the stuff that they were testing was still in the works. Some features were changing with like the battery packs that they were announcing. If you guys remember the R9, at first they were planning on adding Wi-Fi to it, and then I did the video, and the next day they're like, actually, never mind. We decided not to do that. So the stuff is under development. That's how the stuff works. It's not like set in stone. So they don't necessarily want to talk about stuff too much in some situations, depending on where they are in the process. Gonzo Prius. Any dash cams available that can live stream? Black views are kind of the go-to options for that. ThinkWare can do that. Nexar has some options for that. The new Ring dash cam can live stream. Excuse me, my throat's starting to get dry from all the talking. Depends on if you're just like trying to live stream to your phone so you can see it yourself, or if you want to then like rebroadcast that out for like Twitch or YouTube or whatever. So live stream capabilities vary depending on the features that you want, but traditionally black views, that's like really what their focus is. So Mo's Adventure. Do you have a Blackview instruction video? I don't. Well, actually, did I do one? I think I did one for some of the LTE stuff, but their app is about to change. You can watch the video on it. The UI is going to completely change, and so it wouldn't really make sense to do it now. Maybe I can add that to my long list of stuff that may or may not get done. Just, but yeah, yep. And then as far as the streaming stuff for rebroadcast stuff, that's not something that I've messed with personally. If you have a way of like piping the video in, maybe you can have some software that can rebroadcast it back out, OBS or whatever. I don't know, but that's not something that I played with too much. So one more question. I think my throat is starting to get dry. And then I'll get back to it. Let's see. Last one, GT Pro. I'm thinking of changing R7 to R8 once the Bluetooth and or wired remote they develop works, if nothing else goes bad. Interesting. Yeah, I kind of wonder if like if you have the R7 maybe right now, if you have like Mitharu's firmware 1.50 international to get like better blind spot filtering and the additional K notches for like Mazdas and stuff, or automatic sensitivity adjustments like that, I think is a really good option and a good way to go. I'm curious kind of your thoughts on like the wired remote, what you see as the benefits of that. I know some people like the detectors mounted too far away, so it's nice to have a secondary control pad to change settings and adjust volume and mute or whatever. Um, so yeah, Ride for Life. I'd love to see you review the new Blackview app when it launches. I could. I've been aware of that for a little while. I've been trying to get like a preview version to like beta test or something. I don't have it yet, but um, it could be nice to play with, and maybe I'll just do a video of just like, hey, here's the features, here's how it works. Nothing too crazy, just for the sake of like getting simpler videos and getting more of them done. So yeah, that could be an option. I'm open to it. Um, but yeah, I guess that's it for now. I'm going to I guess wrap this up and go get on with my day, walk my dog, work on Dashcam videos, and get back to it. So thanks so much, everybody, for hanging out with me here for like just over an hour. That's awesome. Yeah, this is fun. I really enjoyed it. I appreciate all your feedback, your thoughts. It's nice, like I put stuff out here. I don't always know how it lands or how you guys receive it. Even though, I mean, I read every comment, but it's nice to like have a little bit more real time dialogue and to hear your guys' thoughts, good or bad, suggestions on what I can do better, what you like, how you see it, and not just my own perspective. So yeah, I really appreciate that. So thanks so much for hanging out with me, guys. And I'll catch you later.